Hello, friends, and happy Thursday. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're tuning in live or catching me on replay, I am thrilled to have you here. Happy Thursday. We have a very special guest. Let's dive right into today's live level up discussion.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hello, friends. Wow, it's already a busy day. I see so many of you joining me on all the different platforms. Awesome to have you here. What a treat. We've had a really busy week, right? For those of you who are brand new to the show, I'm Winnie Sun, your host, an award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member. And yes, we are streaming here live on many different social media platforms, but I see you with me, but I don't see your name. So do me a favor, jump in, introduce yourself. Let me know how your week's going. And of course, if you're looking forward to the weekend, because let's just say that today just got a little bit better. And I'm going to tell you, I've got a very special guest today that you're going to want to meet. Let me just say, Larry's pretty awesome. You'll see in just a moment. But currently, let's talk about how the market's doing. The Dow is currently in the positive, up 34 points. In fact, we have green today. That's right, friends. It is positive across the board. Currently, Dow is up 34 points. NASDAQ is up 13 points. And the S&P 500 just barely hanging on. Not even up a whole positive one, but it's still in the positive. It's up like 0.02. I'm not even joking. It's one of those days, right? One of the concerns, of course, that we're having and why I'm thinking the numbers aren't even brighter today is because, unfortunately, the talk of inflation was supposed to get better. And we were like looking at possible rate cuts sooner rather than later. But unfortunately, the US consumer prices came out and they weren't so good. They have risen more than expected in December due to, get this, increase in costs in areas such as healthcare, which we're definitely going to talk about later, and shelter, which shelter includes things like rent and mortgage payments, all that stuff, right? So it's actually going in the wrong direction. These price hikes suggest that it's actually considering to be premature for the Federal Reserve to consider cutting interest rates. In fact, expectations were that in 2 months from now, in March, that there would be possibly a March rate cut. But now it doesn't look like that might happen, with fewer people filing new claims for unemployment benefits as well. We're seeing tighter labor across the board here in the United States, and the consumer price index increased by 0.3% last month as well, mainly with shelter costs contributing to much of that rise. Now, so we're really looking at this very, very temperamental, kind of stubborn, high inflation, which is not a good thing, especially since we do know that we're going into election term in just a bit. I'm sure the current administration doesn't want to see inflation not going in the right direction. So gasoline prices have gone higher. Food prices, in particular, eggs, meat, and dairy products have also gone higher. One area, though, that has become a little bit more affordable has been cereals. And get this is a good thing. This part I like. And vegetables. Many vegetables have also become more affordable as well. Now, I want to share with you one more story that comes from my friend Annie Nova at CNBC. I think this is a great one. And I want to make sure it's on your radar because you might be impacted by this, or someone that you know or love might be impacted by this. And this is the area of student debt. Did you know that now you could potentially boost your 401k balance if you are paying down your student debt? That's right. In fact, there's a new provision that allows employers, companies to match their workers' student loan payments with contributions to their retirement plans. In fact, this is part of the Secure Act 2.0 of 2022, and it becomes effective as of this month, as of January 1st, which addresses the issue of student loan debt affecting retirement savings. So, this new Freedom to Save program really paves the way for this benefit to obtain a private ruling from the IRS in 2018. So, we know that here in the United States, student debt exceeds $1.6 trillion. So, it affects so many people that we know or around us in our neighborhoods. But now that this law is in effect, it's gonna probably take some time for companies to implement the matching program. But it's something, if you're working and if this is something that is applicable to you and you're paying down your student debt, why not send them an email or reach out and say, is this something that's available to me? So, with that, I got to segue to our special guest today. Larry, how are you? It is wonderful to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, it is a treat. And thank you so much for making the time. Larry, how's your week been going? You've been busy?
It's been a crazy week. Getting back after January 1st is always it's always a sprint. At PersonalRX, we're on a 26 mile sprint, as I like to say.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me ask you this before we jump in, Larry.
Sure.
Have you thought about like New Year's resolutions? Did you come up with one this year?
Several.
Sarah? And you can share with us?
Yeah, I think part of it is a work-life balance and trying to work a little bit more efficiently and not work. And I think if my family is watching, they'll be happy, but not work 6 or 7 days a week.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure your family will be very happy. Larry Margolis, founder and CEO of PersonalRX. He left a 20 plus year career on Wall Street. So this is an area he knows very, very well. And he has created, I don't know, this company you need to know about, a home delivery pharmacy care, safe medical administration. I did some research on this. I was just like, where do I sign up? But then I had to come to the show. But let me just tell you, after you learn more about this, you're going to want to do the same thing as well. I know with your background in financial leadership and institutional business development, I'm thinking this whole work-life balancing, Larry, you've got it. But we need to talk about personal effects because I do think this is something that is so prevalent and so important, and it's gonna be so helpful. Right now, we're in like the middle of a what they call it, tridemic, right? I mean, my kids are in school. My 10-year-old was telling me like half his classmates are out after the winter break. It's been a crazy time, and so we want to talk about health. We want to talk about how we can make things a lot more efficient for our lives and a little bit easier. So, Larry, can we start with that? Can you just maybe tell us the personal RX origin story?
Sure. The big part about PersonalRx is that we offer a personalized experience. I think patients deserve better. They're not getting what they're supposed to get out there. They're not getting the level of care, the service that they're supposed to get to really take care of their health care. So I think the basis of PersonalRx is how can we do it better? How can we make sure that there are no medication issues, there are no medication errors? And we do a better job at that.
So that's a great point, Larry. I know, like, for example, I know, like, my mom was always calling. I know when my dad was in and out of the hospital, like, it was like bottles and bottles of medication. And then same with, I think, many seniors today, and even like, doesn't have to be seniors, Americans in general, right? There are certain things you have to take at certain times. For example, one of my friends, she says, I have to take this in the AM and this in the PM. And it's really easy to get confused. And more importantly, it's easy to forget what you're supposed to take. And what I love about this, because I also feel like personal RX is really has a role for pretty much everyone because they make it simple, but they also make it really easy for you to travel with your medication as well. So, how many Americans do you think are affected by what we would call like the broken marketplace? And how many of those do you currently serve?
We service a few thousand patients, and it's growing every day. We work towards the 42 million Americans, 12.9% of the population that take 5 or more medications. There are roughly 10,000 people turning 65 every day. So our population is getting much, much older. Of that, we see that there are roughly 275,000 medication errors a year, people that die from medication errors and issues and access to medication. And this really does not have to occur. So we focus on those, and we focus on the people that need a little bit of extra help. And when you talk about AM or PM medications, we put everything into an individual dose pack, and everything is date and time stamped. And we even send you a reminder. We can send it to your phone. We can send it through Alexa. We can send it any way you want, push notifications, so that you can be reminded to take your medications. And on top of that, we make it really simple, because if things are difficult, people are not going to adhere to it.
Okay, can I just add also, because I saw this on your website, also doesn't cost you anything extra to get
Correct.
this service. So it's like, you could go to your local CVS and get your medication, but it's gonna be in like a bottle where everything's in one bottle. In this case, you get these little packets. I was thinking like, how awesome. Like, we know a lot of seniors are loving their cruises. Imagine just packing enough for your 10-day cruise or 7-day cruise, instead of, making sure that you put it in those little plastic containers that, let's be honest, it's not really airtight. It's probably not that sanitary. I thought this was great. I mean, I'm about to pick up the phone and tell my mom, like, can I help you move your prescriptions? Because this would be so much easier. And I love the idea of having that Alexa or push notification, because my other show, Larry, in the Loop, we talk about really some of the involvement of technology and making our lives a little bit easier. So how nice would it be if Alexa says, hey, Winnie, it's time to take your 8 a.m. blah, blah, blah. And, it's go ahead and do that. That's great, especially for like you talked about, our aging population. A lot of us have parents, right? I'm part of the sandwich generation. I've got kids, my mom to think about. These are like things that would make our lives a lot better with great technology. So, but Larry, this is what I thought was really interesting. I mean, obviously your background is finance, not in pharmacy or technology. So what drove you to create this company?
The current set of options out there are not great for pharmacy. And I think that's the biggest driving force. And we looked at it, and I looked at it and I said, I know we can do a better job for this. And technology is a big part of it. I've always been somewhat of a geek in my life, and not really knowing how to program, but knowing how to make things better, make things more efficient. And when you go to the doctor and filling out that clipboard and saying everything that you're on and writing out all those medications, and if you're like me, probably misspelling them, is not the best approach. Sending a quick email with pictures of the medications that have been reconciled for you by our team, that makes the most sense. So we could do a better job. We could make a difference in the space. And I think that's the most important thing. And we built a team to solve these challenges. And we are able to improve lives, and we do it every day. And when we look and we get these Google reviews and everybody loves what we do, it just hammers it home that we're doing the right thing and we're taking good care of people.
I love this. I think it's like making things a lot easier. Like, having things mailed to your mailbox. But more importantly than that, like organized for people. It's just reducing that stress of having to remember. Like, I love how the packets show a timestamp and the
Right.
name of the person. So, then you just know what you're supposed to do, especially as Americans get older too. It does make it a lot easier. So talk to me about like, that traditional mail order pharmacies. And also I want to talk about a little bit about prescription prices, because that's something that I think a lot of Americans are experiencing, where things just get their medications that they've used are just so expensive. I remember when my dad was on insulin, just how crazy expensive that was as well.
Well, let's start with mail order. Simple mail order provides you a 90-day supply. They don't do any reconciliation. They don't compare all of your medications together to look at it from a holistic center point of view to make sure that there are no interactions in the medication. It's really important. So they're not checking in with your doctors. They're not handling all of those things. They're not making sure that your new prescriptions are there. Medication reconciliation is built into our platform. It's built into our technology. So it makes it really easy for us to do a great job with that. There's also little service when it comes to mail order. Sometimes it's tough to get people on the phone, whereas here you call, you get the same person on the phone every single time you call. So I think that's important. And I think most also important is that there's a potential waste with mail order. You're getting a 90-day supply. And if your medication happens to change in a couple of weeks, you've got to throw that supply out, or you take a risk of taking the wrong medication. So I think the most important thing is that we try and move back to the old pharmacy experience. And we do that at scale, and we do it in two ways. First off, it's people. Our people are very well trained. They're excited to help people on the phone. When your mom calls in, we're going to take good care of her. And also the technology that we built to make sure that we get the meds there on time. And of course, more important than that, there's no additional cost. So you're paying the same price as you would at the corner pharmacy. And I think that's really important as well, because as you mentioned, things are getting really expensive. And as part of that, we talk with our patients every day. We speak to them at least once a month. Physical phone call where actually our patient care coordinators are speaking with them. We understand the economic challenges they're going through. You mentioned earlier about prices going up and costs going up for eggs and chicken and all sorts of other things, vegetable, not so much, which is nice to hear. But we make sure that people are getting what they need. And in order to do that, we rely heavily on a medication reconciliation program to make sure they get what they need when they get it. We also go through a lot of paces to make sure that there's no excess medication, so that if somebody's taking two similar kinds of medication, probably not a great thing to do, regardless of what kind of medication it is. We can streamline that. That streamlines costs. And of course, lastly, we always try and make sure that we give generics whenever possible and whenever appropriate. Obviously, if it's not appropriate, then we can't do that. But that in and of itself saves a lot of cost to the consumer.
So I think, one thing that there, when I was looking on the website, I was thinking to myself, like, how great would that be just to go direct, right? Go through telehealth, go to prescription RX and just be done with it. Is that something that you've looked at? Is that something that's not in your model?
We're thinking about adding something like that to our model, but most of our patients are older. Most of our patients have multiple prescribers for different things or specialists. And I think our place is to coordinate that care and bring those pharmacy or those prescribers together so that we can make sure that people are getting what they need, and organizing those specialists. Using telehealth, I think there's a place for it for sure. My daughter in college needed something, and telehealth was perfect for her. And so I think there's a real place for it. But as we get older and as we have more medications, I think that scope changes a little bit. And somebody really needs to be the quarterback and understand your specific medication regimen.
I mean, after hearing you talk about this, Larry, it almost seems like a no-brainer. I mean, when you go to a pharmacy, you pick up your medication, you might be picking up at two different pharmacies. You might have something mailed ordered to you and something. I mean, there's no quarterback looking at your medication and saying, "Are you sure you should be overlapping these things?" Right? So
Yep.
it makes sense that you would have someone on the other end of the phone that would sort of act as another layer of review for you. I love that because as a child of a baby boomer, this is not something that we are trained to do. So this is great. So CVS just announced, so Larry, that they're trying to do more for pricing transparency, and I just want to see your thoughts on that. What do you think this actually means for consumers like us and patients?
Well, I think they've done a great job, and I applaud them for getting involved in trying to cut costs and save money for their patients. I really do. I think there's a lot more that they can be doing, and that we can be doing, and I think it's all about servicing the patients and making sure that patients have what they need. And so cutting cost is great, and the transparency is great. But really what patients need is, particularly on Medicare and as they get more complex regimen, they need to organize those medications in a way to make sure that they have what they need. They're taking it properly and they have it on hand. I think that's more important than just trying to be transparent. But I do applaud them for being transparent.
Yeah, that's never a bad thing, but I agree with you. That experience could definitely be improved. In fact, I had to go get medication a couple weeks ago, and I remember being at the pharmacy and like literally just waiting and waiting, and like, and then I saw another patient in line, and they were saying that you're gonna have to come back tomorrow because we run out of your medication. How that's just unfortunate if you're sick or if you really need your medication and your pharmacies run out of it. That can be a good thing. So how does Personal RX make sure that they have what you need? Like, do you send out the full 90 days, like your 90-day supply, or how do you keep track and make sure that you have medicine in stock for them?
Well, we do that by forecasting. So we built a tech stack so that we can forecast ahead for what our patients need and always make sure that we have their stock available. Now, of course, there are certain medications like the new weight loss drugs that are kind of the demand is outstripping supply and they're difficult for us to get. I think being a larger pharmacy gives us an advantage to that. But the real key is forecasting, understanding what our patients are going to need, and making sure that we have it here before. And we're dealing with patients who are complex in their regimen. They're taking on average of 9 medications. We have patients that are taking many more medications than that. And it's really important for this population that's aging in place and the caregivers that we take care of to make sure that everything that they need is going to be delivered on time. And by looking out, we can make sure that we do that. If something isn't around, we can make sure we can supplement it and have enough time to coordinate with the prescriber to make sure we can get them something that's going to do the job. And again, all of this is without any cost because you're already paying for your copay and your deductible. So you deserve patients deserve a better situation, and that's what we provide.
I'm guessing you're really popular around the holidays, Larry. People must give you a lot of love, thinking like how much easier you make their life.
Not
But
enough.
not enough, huh? I'll have to work on Well, let me ask you this, Larry. What did I not ask you, that I should have asked you?
Well, I think it's, I'll take a stab at this. And, as we scale our business and we add technology coupled with very, very well trained, what we call personal care coordinators, we make a difference in people's lives. And let me give you an example of that. We just finished a case study for a large insurer in New York, and we used a lot of their data on it. And we increased diabetes, as an example, adherence from 78% to 93%. We did that within 3 months. And by having a much more personalized service, and of course, it's the packets that help also, but having a more personalized service and making sure that we're there ahead of time for our patients, we can get the best outcomes that are out there for their health. And I think, it's hard for this insurance company to find a partner that had a demonstrated commitment to increasing the health of their patients. They want to, but it's really hard to find a pharmacy partner that does that. And so I think we fill that bill. And I think the one thing that I'd want to point out is what a change in adherence really means and how profound that is. And I think one more thing is that the NIH found that there are roughly 1 in 8 prescriptions at the pharmacy that never get picked up. Nobody picks them up. And if you don't pick up your medication, you can't take it, and they certainly can't help you. So I think by doing our service, we are making sure that people get a much better level of care. That's the most important thing to us.
I love that. I agree with you. Going to a pharmacy is no fun. And there's some people that just can't get to the pharmacy. So having it delivered to your home timely and easily, right at your mailbox, makes all the difference. And then have it nicely organized. So this is great. Larry, where can people go to follow and learn more?
They can go to PersonalRx.com. They can call the 800, the toll-free numbers on there. And any of our sales team, you'll hear, first off, what's kind of unique about PersonalRx is we actually pick up our phone. You don't have to, when you're a patient here, you don't have to dial an IVR, know a code, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that. Once you're a patient here, you will, anytime you call in, regardless of what phone number you call in on, you're going to be connected to your patient care coordinator. makes a big difference. It's the same person who knows who you are, knows what you're going through, understands your regimen, and most likely has called your doctors and made friends with your doctors to make sure we get the prescriptions on time. So that's a huge difference. Give us a call. Let us help you. In your position, you call it the sandwich generation. It's really the adult child as we look at it, and we work very closely with both professional caregivers and individual caregivers for their family.
Yeah, it definitely makes life a lot easier, a lot more organized. So you're not worried
Yep.
if mom or dad took the right prescription at the right time and the right
Yep.
quantity as well. So I love that. All right, Larry. Well, having you on the show has been such a treat, but it's not over because this is, I know Joshua is watching. This is his favorite segment. This is what we call speed round.
Speed round.
So, Larry, hope you're ready. This is really fun. This is one of
Okay, I'm
the
ready.
audience's favorite things. Okay, good. So, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. You're going to get a few minutes to answer the questions, but we want to see where it takes us. All right. So, here's your first question, Larry. If you could swap lives with
Mhm.
any fictional character for a day, who would it be and why?
Hmm. I definitely want to think about the future. So if I had to do a fictional character, I'm going to go back in time a little bit. I'm going to say George Jetson. He
A
was
black
very into
and
the future and always had thank you for the picture. Always had a sense of what's going to go on, and now we're seeing all sorts of different kinds of cars and all different kinds of technology. And I think we're starting to capitalize on that as a culture. So I would say fictional character George Jetson is my guy.
Amazing. Well, given that you came up with Personal RX early on, I mean, it sounds like you really saw the need of having that better experience for so many patients and Americans. So that makes sense. I love that. All right.
Thank you.
Second question, Larry. If you were suddenly we're transporting you today. That's the theme, right? George Jetson.
George
All
Jetson,
right.
sure.
Now, if we were to transport you back in time, though, to your 10-year-old self, but then you retained all your current knowledge and your skills, all your awesomeness, what would you do differently? And how do you think it would change your life today?
Well, I probably would have started an AI company or started Amazon if I were 10 years old and did it over again. But that said, all seriousness, I would do 2 things. One is I would read more because I think reading is the basis for all kinds of learning. So I would definitely become an avid reader and read a lot more. And the second thing, if I can say 2 things, the second thing is I would have learned how to code. I love organizing and designing software and coming up with design briefs and working with our dev team and all of our teams. But I would also like to understand what's behind the code a little bit more. So I would have spent more time instead of taking computers apart as I did when I was 10 and 12 years old. I would learn how the inner workings worked a little bit better.
Oh my goodness, I love this, Larry. I have a 10-year-old. I'm going to share all this wisdom that you shared with me today. And our audience say, amazing, amazing. All
Thank
right, let's check back on the market. Larry, the Dow is currently down a point, just 1 point. NASDAQ is down less than a point, and the S&P 500 is down just 4. So it looks like it's trying to climb back up. The market's not closed yet for another 30 minutes. So we'll see if that and definitely will come back for us. But Larry, it has been such a treat to have you here. Thank you so much for making the time and being here with us. Amazing, amazing. And I hope that you had fun. I mean, that's most important.
I had a great time, and I sincerely appreciate the invitation. And I'd love to come back anytime you'll have me.
I would love to have you back. Thank you so much, my friend, for being here. Amazing, amazing. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I see so many of you on all the different platforms. And of course, now we're all also streaming on Instagram, which is really, really fun. A big, heartfelt thank you for being a part of the Level Up community. If you found this value, video of value, please remember to hit that like button and hit subscribe as well to keep up the latest updates. And for full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun, you can tune in on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And if you share this episode online, which I know many of you do, thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, so many of you who've been doing this. Make sure to tag at Winnie Sun so I can express my thanks on a future episode. And for an even deeper dive into insightful content, check out Yes Factor with Winnie Sun on Apple Podcasts and the LinkedIn Podcast Network. With that, be well and make sure to check out Larry and PersonalRX. Take care, and I'll see you very, very soon, my friend. Thank you, Larry. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye now.